Oh God, where'd it go? If you're watching, click on the link. Oops. Okay. If you're watching, click on the link, and then we can chat. Okay. If you're watching, click on the link, and then we can chat. Okay. If you're watching, click on the link, and then we can chat. Okay. If you're watching, click on the link, and then we can chat. Well, I'm going to just go ahead, and then if I see anybody come in, then you can ask questions. But I have the test right here, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I will just kind of feed you some questions, and then you can think about some of the things that we've been talking about in class. This is my house. See my artwork? Look, Frida Kahlo. Okay, so as I said, there's 15 questions that are passage-based. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a chunk of text, and then you'll have to respond. So the question is, somewhere up in there. A lot of them are going to be all of the following except. So watch for the word except. I'll make sure to put it in all caps for you. Then, okay, some of the things, and I've actually been kind of pulling questions out of the PowerPoints and your presentations. If I really liked something, then I went ahead and added it. So I can tell you I have a question about why Leonce puts a notice in the newspaper, so make sure you know that. And I wish you guys could respond. There's 7 viewers. Let me see if I can find a way where we can be interactive somehow. When I've done these before, there was like a thing on the side that people could be feeding questions in. You guys, if you have cameras, you should be able to like pop in and then we can chat with each other. But let's see. Oh, here's Elena. Okay, I'll tell you who I can see is on a link. Do you guys, so I see Elena, Lauren, Alex Schaff, Chris. Okay, let me go back to my live feed. Okay, so I see that we've got 8 viewers, but I don't see the feature where I can see your little faces. So I guess I'll just keep talking. Hi, everybody. All right. Okay, as I mentioned before, I definitely have a question about why Leonce put an ad in the newspaper. So this is a case where he wants to save face. So he's aware something is going on. He's being fed information, probably from his business associates while he's in New York. So he floats the story that they're having the house remodeled, and then that they're going on a trip to Europe. So be mindful of that. Okay. All right. Know what book Edna's reading. That was covered in all 4 classes. So I think that's a pretty easy one. Know about the sea foam, what the sea foam represents. That's really important. I wish I could have people ask, but I don't see it. Hi, Adam. How you doing? I see that you're on too. So what the sea foam represents, and as we mentioned, that's an illusion. So make sure you understand what it's an illusion to. Know why Edna returns to Grand Isle at the end of the story. That's really important. And so she goes back, we'll say to swim in the ocean, but the verdict is out whether she actually goes back to die or not. I kind of feel like she did go back to commit suicide, but there's a lot of scholars who, Kate Chopin left the novel kind of in an ambiguous way at the end. So in this case, I think she committed suicide. I think there's evidence for that, but just know why she went back to Grand Isle at the end. All right. Know the foils. So the foil in literature are 2 characters or a set of characters that are in opposition, and what they represent are kind of alternatives or potential options. So in Hamlet, you've got Laertes, and you've got, which is one option that Hamlet could take. So know who the foils are in The Awakening. So you've got Edna and Adele, right? You've got the woman mother, and then you've got Edna doing her own thing. You've got Edna and the lovers and the lady in black. Okay, that's almost like Edna's past and Edna's potential future with the deadening of her marriage. You've got some men in the character, or the men in the story that are foils. And then there's some men that aren't foils. So for example, Robert and Alcée would be foils, because one is that platonic true love, and then one is that physical, the man she acted upon with, but she doesn't truly love him. So those 2 are foils. Okay, but there's clearly some people that are not foils in the book. So watch for that. Okay, the setting. So know your different settings. So we start in Grand Isle, then we move to Esplanade House. The children go with the grandmother out kind of in the country. Leonce goes to New York. Then periodically, Edna travels to Mademoiselle Rice's, to her apartment, to Adele's salon. And then at the end of the book, she goes back and she travels to Adele's house for the birth of her child, which is not really a place where a lady should be. In fact, the doctor criticizes Adele for requesting for her to be there. And the pigeon house is another setting. And then we have the mansion on Esplanade Street, and the dinner party is a really important setting. The racetrack is also a setting, but I'm not going to ask about that. Yeah, okay, Alex Kirby asks, does this chat work for asking questions? It should. And when I've been on these before, we did them. I'm going to put my phone number here. Okay, I just put my phone number in the kind of the chat there, and then that way text message me any questions, because if I scroll down to look at questions, then it takes me off the live feed. So I'll just hang out here for another 14 minutes or so. And I'm really sorry we couldn't do it. I'm going to have to learn how we do it where all the people show up at the bottom and we can interact with each other. I thought I was doing that, but clearly I'm not. It's just me. Okay, so I was going over some of the questions that I'm going to definitely ask, and I now have my phone in front of me. So if you want to text message me a question, then I can answer it as I talk. All right. Oh, okay. I do have a question about the cult of domesticity. So just go back to Mayor's notes and remember what that is and why that is. It's part of the Victorian ideal era. And then that factors with the mother wife. That's important to know. Know the symbolism of the birds. The birds, I've got a question. Hi, Alex Kirby. Okay, what is a foil? Okay, a foil in literature are two characters that are in opposition or that complete or explain another character. Okay, so let me think of a couple foils where we have, all right, in Cold Mountain, you've got Ada and you've got Ruby. So they're in opposition of each other, but they explain each other. So in Edna is going to be a foil to Adele because Adele represents the mother wife. And Alcee is going to be a foil to Robert because one is the platonic love and the other one is the acted upon lust. So we're looking for characters that kind of are opposite, like mirror opposites of each other. Okay, that's a good question. Foil, F-O-I-L, and it's a literary term that always has to do with characterization. That question was from Alex Kirby. Okay. I just mentioned setting. That's really important. Cult of domesticity. Bird images. There's lots of bird images in the book. I've got a question with an except, capital E-X-C-E-P-T. So four of the responses are going to be birds that are found in the book, and then one of them is not a bird that's found in the book. So just be aware of your birds. So let's go over some birds that we find in the book. So we open the book with the caged parrot and the mockingbird. So those are in the book. We have the name of the house is the Pigeon House, which is kind of like a little tiny house that houses pigeons. I went back today and I searched for why is it called Pigeon House, and it's Pigeon House just because of its size, but still the name pigeon. And pigeons are captive birds. So somebody in one of the presentations today mentioned that even though she moves down the street to the pigeon house, she's still kind of in a little boxy, small house temporarily with the idea that as soon as her husband comes back, she's going to have to move back in. Okay, the bird with the broken wing. Okay, that's an important bird in the story. And that's kind of a harbinger right before she ends up going into the water. Just a second. Okay, and then we have Mademoiselle Rice, who comments that in order, excuse me, let me get some water just a second. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so Mademoiselle Rice comments that you have to be a strong bird with strong wings in order to pull off with what Edna is trying to pull off. Okay, birds. All right, Lady in Black and the Lovers. Let me check real quick to see if I have any more questions. All right. So the Lady in Black and the Lovers. The Lady in Black represents kind of the death of sensuality. She's in kind of an amorphous black gown. She always is doing her rosary. She's faceless. She's nameless. Okay, Chris has asked Chris has asked a question about the quotes. All right, that's a great question. Okay, let's see if you can identify some of the quotes. All right, so what I've done here is I have some of the more prominent people. So I only have 8 So obviously Edna, Leonce, Adele, Robert, Mademoiselle Rice, Alcé, Dr. Mandalay, and the Colonel. I figured those are the main ones that I kind of wanted you to identify. And I have 15 quotes. So let me throw out some quotes and we'll see if you guys can figure them out. All right, this first quote, so just text message me and then tell me if you can identify who said this. All right, this person says, okay. We shall be everything to each other. Nothing else shall be of any consequence. Can anybody get that quote? I'll say it again. We shall be everything to each other. Nothing else shall be of any consequence. Yes, I don't know who said this, but it is Edna. This is Edna when she's talking to Robert. So this is sort of that fanciful love where they can not think about marriage or structure or her responsibilities. They can kind of throw all that in the wind and nothing else will be of any consequence. This quote is Edna. Edna is speaking this quote. She's speaking to Robert. All the quotes are the people speaking to the other person. So yeah, that's a great question. Okay, here's another quote. Let's see. I'm sorry you don't like me. I'm sorry I offended you. How have I offended you? What have I done? Can't you forgive me? And he bent and pressed his lips upon her hand as if he wished never more to withdraw them. Who says that? I'll say it again. I'm sorry you don't like me. I'm sorry I offended you. Have I offended you? What have I done? Can't you forgive me? And he bent and pressed his lips upon her hand as if he wished never more to withdraw them. Somebody text messaged in Alcé, and that is correct. It is Alcé. Okay, remember, he's very physical. So that quote represents him acting upon his physicality. Okay, that's a really good quote. All right, what about this quote? Hi, Blake. I see you. Okay, Blake, what we're doing, because I can't quite figure out how to get you guys showing on the screen, is you're text messaging them to me. And my phone number is 404-545-9609. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 responses, 6 responses on that last question. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of going over some quotes that potentially could be, okay, they're going to be on the test. See, ta-da. So I'm reading some quotes from the test. Okay, so here's another one. You are too lenient by far, Leonce. Authority, coercion are what is needed. Put your foot down good and hard. The only way to manage a wife. Take my word for it. Who says that? I'll say it again. You are too lenient by far, Leonce. Authority, coercion are what is needed. Put your foot down good and hard. The only way to manage a wife. Take my word for it. Okay, I've got the doctor and I've got the colonel. Let's see if we get any more. Anybody else have a response? The doctor or the colonel? What do you think? You are too lenient by far. Authority and coercion. Let's see if I can get one more response and then I'll tell you the answer. Okay, right. This is the colonel. All right, the difference between the colonel and the doctor. The doctor is actually a very compassionate person, kind of is on, feels for, oh, I heard Adele too. What if you tried using 2 windows, one with the feed and one with the, that would work. But since I'm going to be logging off in 5 minutes, I'm not going to do this. But Chris, if you could help me maybe in class one day, we can do this more often. So for the rest of tonight, for the remaining 5 minutes, I'm just going to feed you guys questions and we'll figure out what to do about this tomorrow. But in the meantime, we'll just use text messaging. Okay, so the Colonel, there was a comment in the book that said that he coerced his wife into her grave. So he is all authority, all authoritarian, whereas the Doctor is more compassionate. And I know I've got a couple quotes that show you the Doctor's compassion. He's a family friend. He's concerned for Edna. He doesn't like the fact that Adele asked her to come to bedside when Adele gives birth, and he's kind of a confidant of Leonce. So know that there's a difference, that the Doctor's quote is going to be more compassionate versus the Colonel's quote is going to be more authoritarian. Okay, so here's another quote. Ready? All right. Then in God's name, paint, but don't let the family go to the devil. There's Madame Ratignolle. Because she keeps up with her music, she doesn't let everything else go to chaos. And she's more of a musician than you are a painter. Who says that? One more time. Then in God's name, paint, but don't let the family go to the devil. Okay, I've got one that says Leonce. Let's see if we can get another response. 404-545-9609. Okay, Blake, we've got 1, 2, we've got 3, we've got 4 people who say Leonce. The answer is Leonce. Yes, so the quotes from Leonce, remember, several times in the story, he's just kind of dismissed Edna outright. There's the scene where they're by the cabin and he comes out and he's like, come on in, go to bed. And then she's like, I don't want to go to bed. And then so he sits out there and he smokes cigars. And then this is when they're at the house on Esplanade Street. And he's dismissing her painting and criticizing her for refusing to take social calls, and then also kind of dismissing her talent as a painter. Okay, here is another one. Let's see. Okay, I love this quote. All right, I put this in there because I love this quote. All right. Why? Because his hair is brown and grows away from his temples, because he opens and shuts his eyes, and his nose is a little out of drawing, because he has 2 lips and a square chin, and a little finger which he can't straighten from having played baseball too energetically in his youth. Because. Okay, who says this? Okay, one more time. Why? Because his hair is brown and grows away from his temples, because he opens and shuts his eyes. Okay, 1, I've got an Edna. Let's see if we can get one more response. 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somebody wrote why she's crushing. Okay, yes, this is Edna is at Mademoiselle Rice's apartment, and Mademoiselle Rice asks, why do you love Robert? And then why? And then she responds, because. All right, man, you guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, awesome. 9 people said Edna. Okay, let's do one more quote. You guys are pretty good at these. I like these quotes. Maybe I'll throw out these quotes and get some. No, I like these quotes. I'm going to keep these quotes. Okay. All right, how about this one? You are the only one worth playing for. Those others, bah. Okay, one more time. Hi, Aidan. Adon, how are you? We missed you today. Okay, you are the only one worth playing for. Those others, bah. Okay, someone said Madame Ruiz. Someone said Alce. Let's see if we can get one more response. Madame Old Lady, I forgot her name. Okay, that is correct. 1, 2, 3 people, 4 people weighed in and said Madame Rice. Yes, she plays for Edna because Edna gives her the response that she wants for her music. Very good. Okay, let's move on. In our remaining, I'll stay on for 2 more minutes, and I'll feed you a couple more questions. All right, let's see. Okay. What does the C represent to Edna? Let's see if you guys can tell me that. What does the C represent to Edna? And I have to say, I pulled this off of Auburn, Bailey, and I think it was I can't remember what class they're in now, but Auburn and Bailey's PowerPoint. What does the C represent to Edna? Okay, I've got one person saying freedom. Does anyone have anybody else? Anybody else? Freedom? Her circle of life. Okay, that is not one of the responses I used. Is the answer change or the awakening? Life cycle, life cycle. Okay, I'm going more for freedom and rebirth. So look for a response like that. The C represents Edna's, yes, it is a life cycle, but I'm thinking more the idea of the baptism of the water, and then freedom. Okay, I have a couple questions on here. I have some lines that that I want you to identify the literary element. So I have things like irony, foreshadowing, symbolism, diction, structure. So just watch for the line. I think it's a pretty easy one. I think you guys will get that one fine. Let's see. All right, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'll see if anybody asks me a question. So if you have a question for me, text message me, and then let's see. All right, for those of you who are joining us late, I've just been kind of feeding questions off the test, going over some quotes. Oh, we didn't really talk about this in class. The whole Adele's childbirth scene. So Adele is giving birth. She calls for Edna. Edna comes to her side. The doctor does not think it's appropriate for Edna to be there. Edna's really uncomfortable because it naturally reminds her of the fact that she has children herself. So read, I think that's chapter 37. You might want to just review that one really quickly. Blake is wilding. What? Okay. All right. The rest of these responses are pretty good. All right. So just, you guys know this stuff. I mean, the discussions we've had in class, everything is really good. So do we have any last minute questions? And then I'm going to weigh off. I'll show you my fire. It's really nice. Ta-da! Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so does anyone have any more questions? Okay, good luck. You'll do fine. There's a couple versions of the test. Okay, I got one more question. Any tips or hints on the short essay question? That is a nice fire, I know. All right, one of the questions is going to be, what do you think of the ending, the argument? Do you think that she committed suicide, or do you think that she accidentally drowned? So whatever you say, if you pick that one, make sure you have evidence from the book. The other two, I'm still looking. I'm still determining. Do you have any recommendations for what you'd like to write about? Oh, and don't go crazy and write too much. Oh, you're welcome. Whoever said thank you. How many questions on the test? That's a good question. Okay, 40 multiple choice, 50, sorry, 50, I'm thinking of my freshman test I did today. 50 multiple choice, each multiple choice question is worth 2 points. And then the essay, if you notice in the grade book, I separated them because I noticed that we were kind of underrepresented in writing this 6 weeks. So by giving you guys, by separating it and putting the writing, which you usually do pretty well, in a separate column, it'll kind of boost the grades a little bit. We tend to do worse on multiple choice, and since I have 240 points already in multiple choice, if you do badly on the multiple choice, it won't affect you as much. Okay, all right, any more questions? Any tips or hints on the short essay? Oh, you're welcome. Whoever said, thank you very much, this is really helpful. Get some sleep, go to bed early, okay? Promise, and eat breakfast tomorrow. Take a shower, kiss your mother. All right, good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.